Hi everybody, Happy New Year, and this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3, back here with another video, and welcome to my welcome to my retro pay-per-view review for the month of January. And for the month of January, to celebrate its 30th anniversary, is going to be the WWF's 1995 Royal Rumble. So that's right, it's the 1995 WWF Royal Rumble from Tampa, Florida, and it took place on January 22nd, 1995 at the USF Sundome on the campus of the University of South Florida. And the commentary team consists of Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler. So, the show starts off with Pamela Anderson arriving into the arena via limousine, as she will escort the winner of the 1995 Royal Rumble to the WWF Championship match at WrestleMania 11. So here we go, and Pamela Anderson is being greeted by all the WWF superstars, and yes, Pamela Anderson, we see her throughout the show. She's a constant presence throughout this show. We see her go into her dressing room as she waves to the WWF superstars. And, yes, she is also showered with gifts. Now we get into our first match, and it is for the Intercontinental Championship. As the champion, Razor Ramon defends against Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Or shall I say, with the Roadie, that's right, aka Road Dogg, or later becomes Road Dogg. But he was the Roadie first. And this match was a really solid match. Razor gets his knee clipped by the Roadie, which would lead to a count out by Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett's like, I didn't come to the 1995 Royal Rumble just to have my hand raised. I came to win the Intercontinental Championship, as he's got the mic, so he's calling Razor Ramon chicken, and Razor Ramon, eagerly goes back in. He goes back in, and, they continue the match. And Razor's getting his leg worked over. He's getting his knee worked over. Jarrett had Razor in the figure four. Razor does not tap out. Razor tries to go for Razor's Edge on Jarrett, and his knee gives out. Leading to Jarrett rolling up Razor for the 1-2-3, and now Double J, Jeff Jarrett, is the new Intercontinental Champion. Right before we can get into an interview backstage with Jarrett celebrating his new Intercontinental Championship win, we get Todd Pettengill talking with Pamela Anderson, and Pamela Anderson going over all the gifts she received, like a photo of Shawn Michaels, a plush dog from the British Bulldog, a t-shirt from Lex Luger, and even Henry Godwinn gave her like a piggy bank or something like that from Henry Godwinn. And yes, Todd Pettengill is still in Pamela Anderson's dressing room when we would see them again later, while Pamela Anderson would be changing into a different dress or evening gown. Next up, we have The Undertaker defeating IRS with Ted DiBiase. The Undertaker with Paul Bearer defeating IRS with Ted DiBiase, and you have the Druids coming out who are working under Ted DiBiase. you know, Jerry Lawler's like, where are the Druids? Where are the Druids? And then finally the Druids come out. And Undertaker is fighting them all off. He's fighting off IRS. He's fighting off the 2 Druids that are working for DiBiase. Undertaker manages to defeat IRS with the choke slam. Yes, Undertaker beats IRS with the choke slam. And then the Druids come in to attack the Undertaker after the Undertaker just beat IRS. And Undertaker fights them all off. And then King Kong Bundy comes out and IRS repossesses the urn from Paul Bearer. He attacks Paul Bearer and steals the urn from Paul Bearer. And then King Kong Bundy comes out and he lays out the Undertaker. And Undertaker, it takes a while for him to get back up, and the fans are willing him on to get back up off the mat. Undertaker does get off the mat. And we can be moving on to our next, onto what comes up next on this show. And the third match on this show is going to be for the WWF Championship, as the champion Diesel defends against Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, we saw them on the Action Zone before the show being interviewed. First, Diesel, he was not cooperative on his interview, saying that I need to stay focused as he's wrapping up his wrist tape for his match with Bret Hart. And then you have Bret, who's a little bit more responsive and actually does talk. So we got 2 different sets of attitude going into this WWF Championship match between Diesel and Bret Hart. So we have Bret coming out first, because he's the challenger, obviously. Then we have an explosive entrance by Diesel as he comes out, since he is the champion. This is for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. This was to be who's going to be the champion going into WrestleMania 11. And this was the match of the night. This was an absolute banger of a match between Bret and Diesel. Bret has to be Diesel's. Everyone says Bret was Diesel's best opponent for a reason, because Bret was the workhorse of the WWF. There was a reason why he was one of the top guys in the WWF during that time period, because he was the workhorse. Bret was the absolute workhorse during the new generation. And yes, there were other workhorses too, and Bret was one of them. He was the top workhorse. You have Bret having to work Diesel's legs. We keep seeing Bret having to use different tactics, like trying to tie Diesel's legs up with his wrist tape. This was anything it takes to become the champion. However, this match ended in a draw when the likes of Shawn Michaels came out and attacked Diesel. And not to mention, you had Owen Hart and Bob Backlund come out to attack Bret. Bob Backlund put Bret in the cross-face chicken wing, because of course Bob Backlund was going to do that. Jeff Jarrett came out to get his licks in, but in the end Diesel begins fighting him off, and so yeah, it leads to all the heels retreating back to the locker room. And we get a show of respect from Diesel and Bret. Although both men did not want to see this match end, despite this match being told to continue over and over again. But, this match was labeled as a draw because Earl Hebner was the referee and he lost control. Because Earl Hebner couldn't keep order. That's I mean, because there had to be different agents and referees coming out, and it had to lead Earl Hebner to make a decision that he will call this match a draw. So yes, Diesel is still the WWF champion. Nothing more to be said here. Now we get to Todd Pettengill going back to him and Pamela Anderson's dressing room, and Pamela Anderson is changing into a different evening gown. And then we get into an interview with Bob Holly and the 1-2-3 Kid, as they are going to be taking on Bam Bam Bigelow and Tatanka in the Tag Team Titles Finals of the Tag Team Titles Tournament, where the Smoking Guns will meet the winner of this match tomorrow night on Raw for the Tag Team Titles. Bob Holly's like, we are getting our chance at the Tag Team Titles just like the San Diego Chargers are getting their chance at the Super Bowl this year. You know, as he's talking about how the San Diego Chargers are getting their shot at the Super Bowl. So, yeah. And the 1-2-3 Kid said, even though we haven't been paired up for long, I'm glad to have him by my side. And then we get into the tag team titles match, the tag team title match to decide the tag team champions, as the winner will go on to face the Smoking Guns tomorrow night on Raw. You have representing the $1 Million Corporation, Bam Bam Bigelow and Tatanka, and they're taking on the undersized Sparky Plug, Bob Holly, and the 1-2-3 Kid, aka Sean Waltman, aka X-Pac. And this was a really fun match to watch. This was a great back and forth between both teams. And the 1-2-3 Kid ended up getting the victory when Bam Bam fell off the top rope. And, you know, he busted his he busted his mouth after a miscommunication with Tatanka, and Tatanka was trying to go for a clothesline, and he ran into the ropes, causing Bam Bam to slip, and Tatanka got knocked out of the ring. Bam Bam got pinned by the 1-2-3 Kid, leading to Bob Holly and the 1-2-3 Kid taking the victory and becoming the new tag team champions. And then, of course, you see Tatanka and Ted DiBiase just leave, and not even bothering to check up on Bam Bam. And then Bam Bam goes over to Lawrence Taylor. Yes, because Lawrence Taylor was invited to the Royal Rumble thanks in part to Diesel, because Diesel had invited him at the 60th anniversary of the National Football League ceremony. And you see Bam Bam shove Lawrence Taylor and then walks off, or shoves Lawrence Taylor, and then Lawrence Taylor gets up and he gets in Bam Bam's face, and then Bam Bam walks off. And this was to build their match at WrestleMania, just like how King Kong Bundy had come out to attack The Undertaker and was used to build Undertaker and Bundy's match at WrestleMania for that same show. And if you're asking if I'm going to be reviewing WrestleMania 11 during this year, no, I am not going to be reviewing WrestleMania 11. I'm going to save that for some other time. But there are going to be other 1995 WWF shows that I am going to be reviewing during the year. And now we get into it. The 1995 WWF Royal Rumble. Here it is. And introducing at number 1, you have the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. That's right, Shawn Michaels starts off this Rumble, making his entrance. He's the number 1 entrant. And usually number 1 would either be a bad sign, but this is a completely different Royal Rumble. Then, entering at number 2, we have Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. You got the British Bulldog coming out. as Davey Boy had just drawn number 2. And this Rumble match was really, really good here. I mean, despite the really dumb gimmicks like Mantar in this Rumble, Duke the Dumpster Drawsy, the Blues Brothers, the Blue Brothers, both of the Smoking Guns were in here. Araldo Montoya, the Man of War, was out in this Rumble. Doink the Clown was in this Rumble. And then you got the fan favorites like Shawn Michaels. You have Lex Luger, Mr. USA Lex Luger. The British Bulldog, of course. And he also included guys like Crush, and Adam Bomb was in this Rumble. Oh yeah, both of the Bushwhackers were in this Rumble. Rick the Model Martel was in this Rumble. A lot of people were in this Rumble. And then, of course, it came down to Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog. Bulldog thought he had won when he thought Shawn Michaels was eliminated. They prematurely played Bulldog's music. Bulldog was on the top rope, standing on the top rope, and then he was thrown over by Shawn Michaels. And then, of course, we get a replay, and the referee, and then Howard Finkel saying, "Only one of Shawn Michaels' feet has hit the floor," leading to Shawn Michaels winning his first of 2 Royal Rumbles, because he would win this Rumble and the 1996 Royal Rumble back to back, as Shawn Michaels would be the second person to win back-to-back Rumbles. And the third person would be Stone Cold Steve Austin with 97 and 98. And then, of course, Cody Rhodes would win in 23 and 24 years later to be back-to-back winners. So, overall, yes, it was a great victory for Shawn Michaels. Shawn celebrates with Pamela Anderson, as Shawn will be escorted by Pamela Anderson to the main event of WrestleMania 11, where he will face the WWF Champion Diesel. So, overall, I gotta say, 1995, despite how bad of a year it is, it did start off pretty well with this Rumble, and I gotta say, this was probably a great show. Royal Rumble 1995, not a bad show. Good on you, 1995 WWF. Though I still have 3 other shows that I plan to review from you during the rest of 2025. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of 2025, since I know it just started. But anyway, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I will see you guys next time when I tackle WWE Elimination Chamber 2010 in February. See ya!